Meet Nia Caldwell, a poised, brilliant black woman moving through the thrumming concourses of JFK International Airport in New York City. Among the sea of frantic travelers, delayed flights, and tense conversations, Nia remains unshaken, balanced between humility and quiet strength. Dressed in a plain sweatshirt and jeans, she blends in like any other traveler. But beneath this unassuming appearance, Nia is anything but ordinary. She's an undercover FBI agent, fresh from wrapping up a high-stakes mission that took 2 years of her life. And as fate would have it, a jaded airport cop is about to make the biggest mistake of his career. Nia had always found something intriguing about airports. Since childhood, she was fascinated by the chaos, the swirl of foreign languages, announcements blaring over the PA, the constant dance of goodbyes and reunions. JFK International was no exception. She had just landed after a 5-hour cross-country flight from Los Angeles. Sitting by the window, she had marveled at the horizon as it melted into streaks of pink, orange, and violet above the clouds. But this wasn't a vacation, nor a family visit. Nia was closing out one of the biggest undercover assignments of her career, bringing down an international money laundering syndicate. Few inside the FBI knew the full extent of what she had achieved, and Nia liked it that way. Anonymity was her friend. She wore a simple gray sweatshirt, fitted jeans, and well-worn sneakers. Her rolling carry-on suitcase and battered backpack were all she needed. Stepping off the jet bridge into the busy terminal, Nia caught a glimpse of herself in a glass partition. Her short-cropped hair and defined jawline framed a face that was equal parts calm and alert. She stood tall, her presence quietly commanding. And yet, she understood that for some people, that same presence was unsettling. Over the years, she had learned not to shrink under judgmental stares. Her phone buzzed. A message from her direct superior at the bureau lit up the screen. "Excellent work, Nia. Report to HQ upon landing." She replied with a simple "understood" before slipping the phone in her back pocket. It was 7:30 a.m. JFK was at full tilt. Exhausted travelers navigated crowded spaces while automated announcements blared overhead. Nia strolled toward the exit, bypassing baggage claim. She traveled light for a reason. But today wasn't going to be routine. Near Starbucks, a uniformed cop sipped his coffee while scanning the crowd. Officer Richard Mercer, a 15-year veteran of airport security, wore his bitterness like a second uniform. Once an NYPD beat cop, now demoted to airport patrol after a string of misconduct allegations, Mercer wasn't happy. He distrusted everyone and everything about travelers. Their noisy calls, their oversized backpacks, their anxious energy. His gaze settled on Nia. Alone. Confident. Too confident, he thought. Mercer's instincts were rarely driven by evidence. More often, they were driven by prejudice. And today was no different. He set down his coffee and fell in behind her. Nia, feeling the weight of an unfamiliar stare, glanced back. Ah, gulp. She thought nothing of it at first. Airports were crawling with security. But as she approached the signs for ground transportation, she heard a voice behind her. "Ma'am, excuse me." Nia turned. Officer Mercer stood stiffly, suspicion in his eyes. "Yes, officer," she asked, polite but cautious. "ID and boarding pass," Mercer demanded. Nia blinked. She'd gone through TSA. Random checks weren't unusual, but airport cops didn't typically initiate them without cause. "May I ask why?" she replied evenly. "Routine inspection," Mercer said curtly. "I won't ask again." She could have flashed her real credentials, FBI, but that would blow her cover. As Nia Walters, legal consultant, she had to stay in character. Calmly, she handed over her driver's license and boarding pass. Mercer scrutinized them. "Washington, D.C., huh? Business or pleasure?" "Business," Nia replied. "What kind of business?" "Legal consulting. Sensitive research." "Sensitive," Mercer sneered, flipping her ID as if expecting to find a secret message. Then he asked, "Mind if I look in your bags?" Nia's jaw tightened. She kept her belongings clean, but his tone was invasive. I've already been cleared through TSA, she said politely. Unless there's a specific reason. It's routine, Mercer snapped. Nothing to hide, nothing to worry about. Nia weighed her options. She couldn't risk escalation, but she wasn't about to roll over. Fine, she said, gesturing toward a quieter area. Let's do this privately. Mercer smirked but complied, leading her into a service corridor. Inside, he tore through her suitcase, rifling through neatly folded clothes and toiletries. He powered up her cover laptop, password protected, of course, but after failing to break in, his frustration simmered. Open it, Mercer barked. I have privileged client files, Nia replied. Without a warrant, that's not standard procedure. Mercer glared. You hiding something? I'll show you the desktop. That's all. She typed her passcode and opened a few harmless files labeled legal docs and invoices. Mercer poked around, found nothing, and shut the laptop with an annoyed grunt. You're free to go, he said, waving her off like a nuisance. As Nia zipped her suitcase, she bit down the urge to say something sharp. Instead, she walked away, chest tight, anger simmering. Minutes later, Nia spotted Mercer again. He was harassing a young Middle Eastern man, demanding papers, his tone sharp and aggressive. The man fumbled for his wallet, his expression panicked. Others glanced away. Nia's conscience screamed. She hovered nearby, pretending to check her phone, watching. Mercer's intimidation tactics were all too clear. Another officer, Morales, approached quietly, urging Mercer to back off. Reluctantly, Mercer did, but Nia's resolve hardened. 15 minutes later, she slid into a black SUV driven by Agent Elijah Park, a fellow FBI agent. Rough day, Park asked. Ran into an airport cop, she muttered. Mercer, profiling people. Park frowned. Want to file a complaint? Maybe, she said. But first, let's get through my debrief. After hours at the Federal Plaza field office, turning over evidence from her LA mission, Nia couldn't shake the encounter. She mentioned it to her old mentor, Special Agent Victoria Reese. Mercer's name came up? Reese asked, her tone darkening. Yes. Something's off. I'll make some calls, Reese promised. The next morning, Nia returned to JFK for a flight to D.C. She arrived early, cleared TSA without issue, and grabbed coffee while she waited aboard. Her phone buzzed, a call from Reese. We checked on Mercer, Reese said. Multiple complaints. Excessive force. Racial profiling. Transferred from NYPD after internal investigations. Nia wasn't surprised, but she was unsettled. And then she saw him. Mercer, scanning the crowd. Their eyes locked. He approached, smirking. Miss Walters. Back again. Nia forced a calm smile. Busy season. Where to this time? D.C. Mind if I ask a few questions? Mercer leaned in, lowering his voice. I think you're suspicious. Nia handed over her boarding pass without a word. Mercer studied it, then sneered. Supposed to wait at your gate, not wander. It's an airport, she replied coolly. I'm allowed to sit where I like. Mercer's glare was sharp, but he said nothing more. Have a nice day, Nia added, walking away. But she could feel his eyes on her back. Altar Gota, Nia waited. An announcement, flight delayed. She sighed, stood, and headed to the restroom. When she emerged, another scene had erupted. Mercer again, this time confronting a distinguished black man in a tailored suit. ID, Mercer barked. The man, Henry Briggs, held up his driver's license. I'm a corporate attorney, traveling for work. Why so nervous? Mercer pressed. Enough, Nia thought. She stepped forward. Officer, what's the reason for this stop? Mercer turned, furious. Back off, Miss Walters. Briggs looked relieved at her presence. You're out of line, Nia said firmly. Phones came out, people filming. Mercer's temper flared, but under the weight of witnesses, he backed off. Briggs retrieved his bag, thanked Nia, and left. You think you're a hero, Mercer snarled. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Later, in D.C., Nia couldn't stop thinking about Mercer. And when Briggs called, asking for her help filing a formal complaint, she agreed with caution. She contacted Reese, who strategized how Nia could testify without exposing her undercover status. Weeks passed. Testimonies piled up. Mercer was under investigation. But then Mercer showed up again. At JFK, spotting her despite her disguise. "You never learn," he said darkly. "You're mistaken if you think I'm alone," Nia replied calmly. Later, in the rain outside the FBI office, Mercer confronted her again, threatening her outright. That's when Nia pulled out her badge. "Special Agent Nia Caldwell, FBI. You're under arrest." Mercer froze. Sirens wailed. Agent Park arrived with backup. Mercer was cuffed and taken away, spitting venom. "This isn't over," he hissed. But it was. Mercer faced charges: harassment, witness intimidation, civil rights violations. He was convicted and sentenced to federal prison. Nia moved on to new missions, but her stand against Mercer left a lasting impact. Briggs became an advocate for police reform. And Nia? She knew that justice, though slow, would always find its way forward. Because even in shadows, there are lights that refuse to go out. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can amplify these important stories of justice, courage, and accountability.